So today we are talking to Andrew Green. Hi, Andrew. How are you? You okay?
I'm very well. Good morning.
You're not nervous, are you? You can't be nervous.
No, not at all. We'll be fine. We'll get through. We'll battle through.
I'll go easy on you. So the rule of the show is simple. You get 20 minutes to talk about whatever you want. Are you ready for me to set the timer?
If you press that button, go for
Good
it.
stuff. Let's do it. So the timer has started. So Andrew, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a magician, basically. I'm a sort of creative performer, but essentially my career is around magic. I trained in performing arts and theatre and dance, and then magic was kind of a hobby back then. But then as soon as I left college, I auditioned for a production company and went away to the Channel Islands and did kind of summer shows. Back in the day, you had summer season shows and that kind of thing. So I kind of went into a production company with singers and dancers and all the kind of thing, and I did sort of production shows like that for quite a few years at the beginning of my career, and then I did sort of cruise ships and different things. But then as kind of progressed, I kind of come away from that. I wanted to have a bit of a life because that's a kind of a great sort of start, and it's fantastic when you're young to be traveling the world. I kind of wanted to have a bit of a life. So I came back to the UK and I started doing corporate work and private events and parties and weddings and all sorts of different kinds of things. And that's kind of where I am at the moment, really, is I kind of do that with the magic. I'm also an actor as well. I do at different times of the year, I tour with different plays and different productions as well. But that
fantastic.
Dip in and out.
Well, I'm an actor as well, so I know what that life is like. I mean, I started out as an actor before I became a filmmaker, and I'm still doing a lot of acting now. So I know exactly where you're coming from there. And I nearly did cruise work myself, but the idea of being away, because it's a life where you're just self-contained, aren't you, with a group of people?
Yeah, you're in a little bubble. You absolutely. The first cruise that I ever did was based out in Singapore. So I was out there for maybe 7-8 months or something like that. I can't remember. But so I was based there and traveling all around sort of the Far East on ships, and the whole world just kind of gets cut off. It just disappears, and that little group of people on that little sort of boat that's floating around is your world, and it is quite strange. It's great, don't get me wrong, you see some fantastic things, but it is.
And you don't really get days off, do you? Because you're constantly working, because you're constantly on a boat. Is that right?
Well, it was kind of different for me because I was classed as a kind of guest artist, and so I would only do a couple of shows a week. So depending on how it works on some of the ships, you just do, like, if the guests are on for say 2 weeks, you would do a show the first week and then a show the second week, and then the rest of the time you're kind of a guest, which is fantastic as a job. You literally
what a bit of a holiday as well, and getting paid for it.
Well, it is. Nowadays I kind of use it as a holiday if I do them, but then if you're doing like sort of 6 months, it's 6 months of just working once a week. You literally go out your brain, so
there's only so much cruise you can have, isn't there, really?
Yeah, it does become sort of, quite boring, but that's the gig, really.
So
it's just
so the music show, the music shows, the magician shows that you're doing, have you always done magic, or is it something that you got into when you came off the cruise ships? How did the magic come about?
No, I was doing the magic on the cruise ships. So I started magic as a hobby when I was about 10. Maybe,
right, okay.
9 or 10. I know these kind of, like you get a kid's magic set, Paul Daniels magic set, something like that.
We all had one of them.
I used to sort of play around with those kind of things. And then I kind of continued that. And then I heard there was like a local magic club. It was in Preston. I'm originally from Preston. I live in sort of Wrexham now. But it kind of, there's this local magic club, and so I was kind of went along with a couple of friends and started that way, and then it progressed. Really, you kind of learn more things, and you get to know all the magicians, and then it became an obsession. Then sort of from then through my teenage years, that's all I really wanted to do. But I kind of wanted to train in theatre and get a bit more involved in the whole sort of performance side of things. So then I studied dance and theatre and performing arts, and I kind of expanded it, really. And I was going to become, back in the day, I was going to be an actor straight away. And but then I auditioned for this production company. It was a company actually in Blackpool called Stageworks, who produced.
I've heard of Stageworks, yeah.
and they had a magic show, and I auditioned for that. I didn't get that one, but they sent me to Jersey to be in another show, and then I kind of never went back. Well, I never went back to the acting until about 5-6 years ago, when I got offered a role in a play, which I've been with ever since. But yeah, so the magic was always there as a hobby. Then it became a job, and now it's kind of like a job. It's a hobby. It's an obsession. It's just kind of a part of my life, really.
Yeah, no, I get that, because I never really ever thought I was going to be a filmmaker. And it's funny. It's a funny industry, really, because you can end up in so many different avenues and different.
I
You know, there was one point where I was a stage technician, and I worked at the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall for about 5.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, because I stayed on to train as a technical technician. But you know, it's fun. It's a funny industry because there's so many different ways in which you can go, and I completely get the journey that you've been on.
It's fabulous, you know, and because of what I do, the nature of it, it's kind of bizarre, you know. It's about effects. It's about creating sort of live, you know, and entertainment. And I worked in between contracts because I worked for Stageworks. I worked on their ice show. And so I did some of the effects on the ice show. Yeah. I did all the flying. I learned the flying by Foy, which is the company. So I used to fly skaters around the arena.
Wow.
We used to do all the flashes and bangs and all sorts of different things. And so I kind of dropped into that in between contracts because I kind of had experience in all sorts of different fields. Because I think, you know, in a creative sort of industry, it's great to be able to do lots of different things.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can take a skill from there and pop it into something over there. And I now build props and design things and create custom illusions for different events and things. So, but they always say that every skill that you ever learned, you'll use at some point.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, I did that. Oh, I've done something over there. I could put that into that. And that's essentially what I do. You just keep learning. At some point, you'll use it all, and it all kind of merges together, which is great. I love it. That's the
I mean,
I love it. Never a dull moment.
I do get that. I mean, I'm still waiting to find a job where I will use my juggling skills. But I know it's in the bag, and I'm waiting. There'll come a time when I'll be asked to juggle, and I will take to the stage like no one's business. Talk to me a little bit about the magic shows, because you know you're doing such an amazing job with these online magic shows. You know, were you doing video magic shows before lockdown, or is this something that you've embraced since lockdown?
So just to give a backstory on this, obviously everything with the sort of entertainment industry just collapsed with the COVID and the pandemic. So, and it was a case of 1 minute my diary was full of events, and the next minute gone. It literally disappeared, you know, and so it was a case of, well, what can we do with this, you know? And at first I thought, no, the online stuff, this virtual stuff, nobody's going to be interested in that. And I dismissed it really. But then speaking to other magicians, and they were saying, well, maybe it would work, maybe if we did this. And so I thought, I'll give it a go. Now I do family shows or children's shows. So I thought that was a really good place to start. And so I set up a kind of a test show. Invited some people using Zoom, and I really hadn't done it before. I had no idea. I'd used Zoom for kind of meetings and that kind of thing, but not really in a performance sense. And so it was a case of, well, will this work? And learning the software and trying to set up different things. And so I set it all up, and I actually rehearsed it and filmed it via Zoom for a few times, and I just ran the whole show and making sure that everything would fit in the screen and just seeing how it sounded and how it looked. And it was just because it's a whole different way of working, you know. Essentially it's like working on TV, I guess. You're working to a lens, and you've not got any sort of real reaction. Not got any visual reaction from an audience. And so I kind of just gave it a go, and I was absolutely blown away with the way that the response that I got and the feedback that I got from like the families that kind of came on that first kind of call. I was blown away. And also because of the situation, because of the way that everybody was locked in and struggling and under stress, and the children obviously are stuck in and isolated from their friends, the way that they responded was amazing. And so the parents were quite emotional about it. And so I thought, hang on a minute, it was quite special for me then. It didn't matter about anything else. It was just, actually, this is something really cool. So then I thought I'd try and expand this. And as a result, I got a TV news story. BBC Wales picked up the story.
Yeah.
And they ran a fantastic news piece, but I had to film everything myself because I couldn't send a camera crew round. So literally, my wife was in with the kind of literally an iPhone, filming pickup shots and establishing shots and close-up shots and everything, you know, literally.
I know the feeling all too well.
They basically gave us a list of what they needed, and then we kind of chopped it all together, and then I just sent it to them, and they just did what they did, and it was fantastic. And the feedback from that was wonderful. And since then, it went on the TV, and it just went crazy. It genuinely went crazy, you know, and which is fabulous. And I haven't had a minute to spare since, because I've either been doing the shows or I've been
planning
them, and I've also been doing workshops, and magic lessons have come off the back of that. And so I did all that, and then after that I then went into doing kind of more adult kind of, you know, evening kind of shows, so more close up, more sleight of hand, a bit more complicated and technical sort of magic, so that you know, I could do evening parties as well. And they've taken off now. So during the afternoons, I'm doing stuff for the sort of kids and sort of families and public shows, ticketed shows, and now in the evenings, you know, because people can't go out, you know, at the moment. So it's like, well, let's everybody get together on a Zoom and let's do something interactive like mind reading and close-up magic through the camera. And it's learning how to do that that's been the challenge, and learning the technology on the fly, running the screens and all whilst you're actually doing a show. It's crazy. Your vision mixing whilst you're actually trying to do a performance as well, which I'm sure
like I know exactly where you're coming from, and it just sounds like you've absolutely just embraced it and you've gone with it and you've gone, right, I don't know how to do this, but let's do it. And then you've fine-tuned it, you've worked at that art, and you've gone, right, I'm happy with that now. And that is a trait with any performer. They want to make sure that what they're doing is right, and they put the right time and effort into something to make sure they're giving the value for someone. So I completely agree, and I go with what you're saying there. Do you think that video is something that you're going to keep after lockdown, or do you think this is just a part-time thing for you?
I think it will stay in certain arenas. I don't think it will stay in as regular as it you know has been. But I think for, like, you know, international conferences and corporate events where they want something a little bit unusual, it will stay. One thing that I think will stay, and I really I'm keen to kind of try this moving forwards, is obviously for people who are in isolation because of illness or whatever reason, and so and also if their families live further apart and they can't get together necessarily for a party, they can do something like this. But for children, say, who are in hospital because of an illness and they miss a birthday, that's a big thing for a little one. And so if they can have something like this where they can bring all the friends together, and rather than just have a video call where everybody just talks and everything, have something that brings them all together and is interactive and moves them around. Because essentially I'm playing a host. I'm playing the role of the host on a video call, moving around and you know, spotlighting people. And that's essentially what I'm doing. So I think to have something like that for a party where they can't necessarily have a live party, a real party, I think that's going to have value moving forwards, and it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah.
Do you think that video has had? I mean, it obviously has had a very positive effect on you, but do you feel that video has really made a massive difference in your business?
Before this, or kind of like
in general? I mean, obviously, were you doing a lot of video beforehand? I mean, you know, from your experiences.
From back in the day when obviously cameras are a bit more expensive and not as easy to work with, you know, capturing sort of footage, I would get sort of camcorder footage of a show, and it would be all bits and pieces. Obviously now with sort of iPhones and cameras and webcams and stuff, it's a lot easier to capture stuff at events and stuff. So it's to grab sort of clips and bits and pieces, you know, from a corporate event is a great testimonial for me, rather than like just a photo or something like that.
Yeah,
it's easier to kind of capture what I do, and then to be able to market it, you know, sort of the clients. It's you know, I did an event last year for Denise Welsh from Loose Women, you know.
I've got her autograph because I'm a big Alvida Zane Pet fan, and she was married to Dennis. Remember Dennis from Alvida Zane Pet?
Yeah.
Tim Healy got his autograph.
And her son is a big pop star now as well.
Yeah.
So I did an event. She has like a kind of a big event every year, like a charity ball.
Mm-hmm.
And this last year's, it was November, was the theme was magic, and so she wanted to appear. And so they gave me kind of a brief of what they wanted to do, and so then I built and designed an illusion to make Denise appear. It was filmed. She kind of shared some footage on social media of it, and it worked great. It was absolutely fantastic. But that moment, capturing that moment, it was a custom designed effect we built especially for Denise. She was over the moon with it. It worked fantastically. That video is worth a lot to me, because that's, it gives an essence of what I can provide for a client moving forward. Obviously, moving into this situation, it's made a massive impact. It's kept my business afloat, and also it's helped my profile, I guess, because it keeps you in the public eye. It helps reach people who wouldn't necessarily see you ordinarily. It kind of is easy to add on social media. The whole package is it's helped me massively, and I think moving forwards I'll probably do a lot more and be more active in this.
And it seems like you've reached people you would never have reached otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's obviously the having the TV thing, the BBC thing gave me a massive amount of credibility, which was essentially the whole reason for doing it. Mm-hmm. But it kind of gives you that stamp of credibility, so that people look at you and go, "Oh yeah, he's done that. Oh, he must be all right."
Yeah, you've got to use those things to your advantage, 100%. I in the past, I've been interviewed on the radio and stuff, Coventry and Warwick, I think, but that went on the website because it builds that credibility that they don't just interview anybody. So 100%, don't ever feel bad about using those things
That's what
to show your worth.
It's all good, and as I say, it's all a learning curve, especially with the video stuff, all this kind of thing. But I think it's really positive.
Good stuff. So, do you think that you might actually start thinking about, well, actually, after lockdown, what about if I did a set of courses, become that magician influencer, and start building an online brand? Is that something that you think you would probably do?
Yeah, I think I might do. The whole sort of social media, the whole kind of branding thing is a full-time job.
It is, yeah.
That, you can literally spend every hour doing that. And some people do that. They make whole careers from being kind of, social media influencers. And I think that's a really tough thing to do, especially with magic. There's a guy, a friend of mine called Magic Singh. Mm-hmm. Great magician. Have a look at him on TikTok or Instagram. Magic Singh, he literally does he does performances, but he's massive on social media, and literally he has 1,000 tricks that he performs, visual stuff that he performs to camera, and that's his thing. Whenever I see him at like a magic convention or any event, he's got a bag of new tricks that he just bought that he's going to do for TikTok. I think he's got like 5 million followers on TikTok.
Isn't it?
But it's a full-time thing, he says it absorbs your whole life if you let it. So I think there's a balance there. It's a balance between increasing your profile sort of for your business via sort of video and social media and online content, and actually going out to the real world and doing the stuff that you are presenting and you're promoting. There's got to be a balance there.
Yeah, and I think because you are a performer, and I get that as well. You do that interaction with someone never goes away. You always want to stand on a stage and get that feedback instantly. On a stage with an audience, you do thrive off that interaction, and that's something that obviously video doesn't offer. I mean, obviously you can get reactions.
Yeah, with the sort of online stuff I'm doing, it is quite unusual because I'm staring at a camera and doing a performance. And normally when I do a show, you get a visual feedback from the audience, so you get an audible with their reactions and the applause or whatever. With the online stuff, if you're doing it in a live sense, in a Zoom kind of performance, as it were, you get an audible reaction, and you can see in the corner of your eye the screens, you can see people reacting, but it's not the same, and you've got to accept that, and you've got to perform in a different way. And there's also time delays on Zoom, so the sound that they're getting is later than what you're getting, so you've got to kind of put that into the mix. And this is stuff that I've learned as I've done it, and it's bizarre. And so I've turned into a TV presenter kind of mode where I'm just performing and I'm just kind of imagining the responses and carrying on with it. Yeah. And hopefully the people watching at home, sounds bizarre to say that, will get it in the way that it's presented, and they will feel like it's performance, and it just isn't as a physical response, you know, and so that's been really interesting to learn, you know, and but yeah, it's a different medium. They say like every different type of performance is has a different venue.
Yeah.
And essentially, this is a new venue.
Yeah.
And it's just
a harder one or an easier one?
Well, I'd have to travel very far.
You do it in your pajamas.
You know, like normally for gigs, I'll travel all over the place. Like literally, I went to Dubai for one night to work at Cirque du Soleil, and that was a long way to go for one gig.
Oh no! There's your timer. Your timer's gone.
Oh.
No, this is the problem when you throw a good story in right at the end. Sometimes you never get a chance to finish them. How did you find that? Did you enjoy it?
All good. I can talk forever. So 20
Oh,
minutes.
so could I. I think we should stop the recording and just have a chin wag for another half an hour. Well, no, honestly, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and I wish you all the best with all the online content, because it is on
Good
point.
stuff.
It's fantastic, and you've put a lot of time and effort into dressing your sets, and really put that time and effort in. And it has paid off. So
it's amazing what black cloth and a bit of fairy lights from the attic can do.
Well, they're only sitting up there for 11 months of the year, so you might as well use them for your advantage.
Glue them for Christmas.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. If anybody would like to watch any previous episodes, you can go to youtube.com/Take the Cake Pro. If you'd like to find any of the new episodes, then don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.